The Raptors will look decent, bro. Like the spacing, it's like on and off. Like there's some games, like, bro, I think it was like the Portland game, especially. Oh my god, it was like nobody could make a shot, and it's like, dude, this looks terrible. This is like the Raptors offense I'm used to. But then there's like other games where it's like Scottie's cashing threes. Dennis has been great for the spacing of the team. If Gary Trent's on, we know OG's pretty consistent. And Pascal, he has had a really slow start to this season, but there's been a game or two where he turns it on. It's like there's been a couple games where like the Raptors guys, the shots will be falling, and it's like, wow, like you can just see the potential that the team has. It's just it's not as consistent, but at least they've been able to mask it with just the more free flowing offense. Like you don't have a lot of isolations that end up in like some bad shot. It's a lot more quality looks, even if there are nights where they don't fall as much, which can be frustrating, but also in the grand scheme, it's like, okay, we made a coaching change, and it's like, I feel like the talent will get there eventually from the shooting side. Roster might not be built for it right now, but at least I see a foundation for the team where it's like, if we get the right guys in the door, this can be a good offense.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance right now. Like you said, Schroeder's been great, shooting better than I expected, tied for the league lead in total assists on the year. That's a blessing that we've needed. Now, whether that carries on, I don't know, because he's playing some of the best ball of his career right now, and this is the guy who's made an all-star appearance. But it's definitely been a great start to the year for him. At least there's some shooters, like you say. I mean, Gary's there. Grady's on the team this year. Otto Porter's finally getting into the rotation. He's back from his injury. Easing him in. He's not playing back-to-backs, and he's not exactly playing heavy minutes, but he was even playing some minutes down the stretch against the Spurs the other day. So it's nice to see him back, and he's one of the few guys on this team who can shoot and defend on the wing. I mean, Jalen McDaniels was supposed to be our big pickup this offseason to do that. He can't score worth nothing right now. He's been literally useless on the offensive end. He came from Philly, and he's doing his best Matisse Thybulle impersonation right now, minus the elite defense. It's just good defense. So that's been a problem, and that's kind of just the story of the Raptors bench historically over the last few years. But hopefully Achua's back soon. We definitely need him back. Hopefully Koloko can get back on a basketball court at any time soon, because those bench guys are definitely missing. But at least there's some semblance of positivity. The defense has looked great, borderline top 5. Transition offense has looked great. It's just what we expected. The half court offense, when we're stagnant, shooting's not there. We're out of 30th now. We're the 29th ranked half court offense in the league, but
It's better.
I saw that.
we're 29th for a reason. It's a problem. We got to keep running, but we're second last in the league in pace right now. So it's a bit of a weird situation we got going on, to say the least, offensively. But we're playing better than I expected, and big shout out to Schroeder for that. But big shout out to Scottie as well. I know we're going to talk about Scottie a lot over the next few weeks, probably at this rate, but much greater jump than I think pretty much anyone could have expected outside of Kong. So shout out to him on that one. But
the
we were all
a lot better than I was expecting. That's for sure.
We were all kind of bullish on like Scottie's. What could year 3 hold? You know, I kind of compared him to like Jason Tatum, like that. Year 2 wasn't bad, but it was kind of a letdown. But this year 3 is looking really. I haven't watched much Raptors basketball, but I can't wait to look at his film, because just the numbers jump out, and the clips I have seen, like he looks like a much more comfortable offensive player, and I'm excited to like really just dive into the film, see what he's actually doing out there. I'm gonna have to just tune into more Raptors games in general just to watch him. And apparently Dennis Schroeder, the best player in the world, FIBA World Cup MVP. We got to do like a case study. Like that'd be like a good deep dive video. Like how do FIBA successes like translate into the next season? Because Lowry was great in Euro Cup, and now
Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks, Franz Wagner took that massive jump in year 2. Like that's a case study needs to be done, man, because there's a few guys that have really popped off in FIBA and translated that into the next NBA season.
Yeah, the Scottie progression, especially, even, and this is going to sound crazy because it's been like 6 games, but watching like the first game or 2 of the season, like I was just watching him do some playmaking, and I'm like, he just ain't. He ain't that, bro. Like he was making some of the worst passes I've ever seen. I'm like, bro, like what are we doing? And then literally by like game like 4, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. He played a couple games in this offense, getting more used to it, getting more used to having the ball in his hands, and already it looks so much better. And still not some crazy like half court setting playmaker, but as far as in transition, like we know the Raptors have ran in transition forever. That's been their identity for like 5 years. But it's not really involving Pascal now. Pascal's been known as the guy for years that was like the rebounds. It comes down with the rebound. Pascal's probably already past half court. Like he's down there. He's ready to get the pass and get the bucket. But now it's really a lot of just Dennis or Scottie get the ball, then they find a guy down the other end. And Pascal's almost been phased out of this offense. Like it's so interesting to watch because I kind of alluded to it earlier that there's not a lot of isolation touches on this team right now. Like because Scottie, for as much as he's had the ball, he's not really much of an isolation guy, and neither is Schroeder for what's worth. Like he's never been an isolation guy. So the two guys who have the balls aren't really those kind of players. But with no Pascal ISOs, it's like, he ain't really doing a lot. Like he's been putting up a lot of like single digit scoring games. He'll have some good shooting nights, some bad shooting nights, but like overall, there's a lot of times where he just doesn't even look like he's out there. Like just off the eye test, you're like, is Pascal, is he even doing anything at all? And it makes me think that he is like gone because there's other teams, and like there was a narrative forever with like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum where it's like, oh yeah, it's your turn, and then it's my turn, and it's like when it's not my turn, like I might disappear for a little bit, and like Jason Tatum, I feel like got that complaint like a lot, but Pascal doesn't really have those like, yeah, it's my turn at all. It's like he's just not a part. Like he's just not a part of the flow anymore. Like I don't know. I haven't seen his usage percentage, but it's got to be like cut in half. Like it's crazy because Dennis has essentially taken the Fred touches and he's done outstanding with it. Scottie has a lot more touches than he did before. And it's just, it kind of sucks almost because if he's this gone, like they're literally phasing him out of the team. If he's that gone, it kind of sucks that he's getting his usage slash so much because it's gonna lower his value almost. Like if he's looking bad, then it's like, ooh, hopefully we still get a good return for him. And I think we will. I think it might be a little hyperbolic to assume that just like half a season of it's gonna lower his value that much. But it makes me think like if this Rajakovic offense was going to put him in a place where his services and his play style were not really utilized, which they're not, because Pascal's still a very talented player, but his skill set's just not being utilized in this offense. If that was the case, why did they not trade him in the offseason? And for as much positivity as I have around the Raptors and the Scottie breakout, and Brady Dix had like 2 good games, but there's been some flashes there. Dennis has looked like a good acquisition. And a lot of this new breed has looked quite promising. Even OG looks like he could really play well off of this new version of Scottie Barnes, and he could even be around if he wanted to be. But specifically with Pascal, why would they not get off of him if they knew they weren't going to use him for the quality of player he is and for the trade value he had? To me, that's a miscommunication between Masai and Darko. Because Darko is like, yeah, I'm not going to use him. That's just not the offense I'm going to run. But Masai's like, we're going to keep him around. Why? Why is he not even in trade talks? Why is this not a thing? Use him or get off him because he's such a talented player.
Yeah.
Yeah, his usage has gone from 27% last year to just a hair over 21% so far this year, which is his lowest since his All-Star season. Prior to that, it was lower. It was 28% during his All-Star seasons. First one, that is. So,
that's why
definitely low.
I would say I don't think his value is going to get shot that much because that'd be a very lazy negotiation tactic to be like, oh, his numbers are down. Well, obviously, motherfucker's usage is down, almost a quarter of what he's used to. So, to your point, Gabe, about not trading him in the offseason, my only counter to that would be one, you probably want to see like, is Scottie Barnes somebody that we can truly make the focal point, right? And small sample size, but looked really good. Maybe that can entice him to trade Pascal now. Finally make that decision in the front court, the stacked front court that they have. And so it was a very stagnant offseason. We didn't see James Harden get traded until about a week ago. Dame got traded a few days before training camp. Like it was a stagnant offseason. So that would be my like basis on it. Like maybe that's why there were no real trade talks. And we're still early in the season. Maybe they'll heat up once like December 15th comes around. Guys that were signed in the offseason can get traded. So I think this should give fans hope that, maybe there will be a trade down the line. Like, fingers crossed, hopefully something will happen. Because if not, it doesn't make sense to not utilize Pascal more and play to his strength, because he's still an all-star caliber player. I don't care what anybody says, he's still really damn good.
I'm just not sure what the packages look like. Like, I guess if anything, they should try to get like a nice young guard back to pair with Scottie. But it's an interesting situation because Dennis has been really good, and not that I think Dennis is going to be the long-term option, but I mean, he fits with what they want to do, and he looks really nice next to Scottie, and his spacing is important. But if OG is going to be around for now, he's looked good this season. Jakob Poeltl's looked good this season. Precious is going to be coming back. There's Coloccus. You don't really need like a big man. And we've talked about how many just wings they have on this roster already. I do think you look in the guard direction, because like I don't like just a big pick haul is like, I mean, it's whatever. Like I guess you can flip it in the future, but also like we're already in like year 3 of Scottie. So I don't know if I want like to freshly draft another guy, if you know what I'm saying.
Nor do we have our pick this year if we're not that good. Yeah. So we're not even
in that I'm saying like
bad talent. So
if you trade for Pascal for like somebody else's pick, I'm saying like,
yeah,
I don't know if even if that pick was like solid, like a decent ass pick, like I don't know if that's the route you want to go, but that's what I'm saying. Like the optimal thing for trading Pascal would probably be a young guard, and I'm interested. I had to do some more research to see who's out there that they could be looking at, because I don't really know what teams are selling young guards right now. Like maybe by the end of the season, you might be able to convince like Portland to get off of Anthony Simons or something. I don't know.
For Pascal, like that doesn't really make sense for their timeline, though. So
right. It doesn't be
unless it's like a 3-teamer, type deal.
And it's like
you look at Philly. Philly doesn't really have like
they're not going to give up Maxey
outside of Tyrese. No. Yeah, Kong mentioned like Davion Mitchell. I'm like,
I don't know if that's
fine,
really good enough for what you want.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth Pascal Siakam.
Now,
I don't expect it, but maybe OKC buy in and they want to move off of Giddey. I don't think they're going to, but that's a potential destination.
That'd be really
especially if he continues to struggle offensively like he has to start the year, which I don't expect. But
they said you send us Cat. I would take Cat actually.
Cat next to Podol, that man's got to be going somewhere.
Yeah, it's a weird like. I don't even think Dallas has the money, but what if they send like Josh Green? I don't know. Like I'm just spitballing shit out now.
They might be able to with Hardaway. I don't know what else they'd be able to attach to that.
Hardaway, Josh Green. I think Josh Green would be a nice, decent flip.
Yeah,
Pascal is just in such a weird spot. Like I don't know.
He's a good player that teams would want, but it's like I know in your mind you're thinking like you want value back, but what value? It really depends on what the Raptors are kind of like directionally thinking.
He's a very good second option. Like he was a championship level second option. Now that was with Kawhi playing out of his mind and really like a 2A because Kyle Lowry was still very good. And even then at points, Fred VanVleet was like a 2C because he played really good. Like from when he had the kid to the end of the playoff run. But like since then, I mean, Pascal, he has these ISO touches where we know we've heard it for years. It's like it's ugly, but it kind of works. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know.
We always talk about like Atlanta's, but it's like Hunter would just be another wing into the fold. Is AJ Griffin enough to like? I don't know. It's so weird, man.
It's the fact that they're running an actual offense now, and Kong is talking about this in chat. Like, does he work well in a structured offense? Because Nick Nurse didn't have a structured offense. He had a great defense, and the offense was just kind of freewheeling, and that's why it was bad. But does he work in a well-structured offense where he doesn't get these ISO touches that, while improving, probably are not the best shots you can get? I prefer, for as many times as the Raptors go cold and just miss a gazillion shots in a row, look at the end of the Bulls game, look at the Timberwolves game, look at some of these stretches in the Philly games. For as much as this happens, like, I would take the ball movement leading to a decent look over a Pascal ISO any day of the week. And he's just not – we talk all the time about plug-and-play guys. And especially if you're going for a midseason trade, it's looking like Pascal is not plug-and-play because he's plugged into an actual offense now with Darko, and he's really not doing anything. I'm pretty sure it was like the Bucks game or maybe like at points in the Bulls game before we really got out of hand that he was like making some solid shots off the ball. But he's not that good of a spot up. He can't be just, and
he's never been a good spot up guy.
No, he's not. It is like he is just he's just spotting up for long stretches. Like when I tell you, because you said you haven't watched a ton of Raptors, bro. You will literally watch him be on the court for an 8-minute stretch, and you won't even notice he's out there.
Which is crazy because of how good he's been the last 2 years.
When you watch Raptors games, you're like, damn, Scottie looks like really good, like knocking down threes, making really great passes in transition. His like little hook, like he like drives in, does a little turnaround, gets a little hook. His hook shot has been falling like butter, bro. It's ridiculous. But Scottie's look really nice. OG has a lot of good moments. Gary, he's been better the past couple games. He started off the season a little slow. So you like notice those three, and you especially notice Dennis Schroeder because he's the new addition. And he's just played out of his mind from the playmaking aspect and the spacing aspect. But legitimately, Pascal Siakam is out there doing nothing. It's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's a curious case to look at. Like
for an All-NBA player, and it's not even like he's had some inefficient games, but it's just the lack of like doing like I don't even watch Pascal play and be like, yeah, this looks horrible. It's just a lack of impact, positive or negative. It's just nothing.
And it's interesting too because when he came into the league until he had that All-Star year and he started to break a mold a bit, it was I'm really good in transition. I crash the boards. I'm a broken play type guy. And that was kind of his fundamentals. And now it feels like that's really flipped where it's like I'm an ISO guy. I have to spot up at times, which he never did. And I'm not really he's still good in transition, but he's not really getting as many offensive boards or he's not seemingly crashing as much. He's not really as much of a broken play guy. He's not really cutting as much and getting those buckets at the rim when he's not the focal point of the offense. If he can get back to that, he probably fits in okay. But he's just really far gone from that now. I mean, we're 4 or 5 years removed from that now where he's just a completely different player and he's had to become that. Can he get back to those roots? We'll see. That'll impact how much he either starts to impact in Toronto or if he does get traded, how much of a plug and play guy he is compared to does it take months and months to really integrate him into that system?
The biggest cut guy I feel like at this point has been really OG and Gary. Like those are the guys who I feel like are really getting fed in those positions as opposed to Pascal, who you would assume would be that guy. So yeah, it's like even the stuff that he was really good at. And that's why I mentioned like the transition even looks different. It's just it ain't working out. Even it feels like because he wasn't like I think he missed the first game or two, but even like Chris Boucher since he's come back in, I think has looked real decent for them. And with this new offense and kind of new play style here, like I've really liked what I've seen from him. And if Chris Boucher is being more impactful at the floor than Pascal Siakam, that's a strange place to be in.
Yeah. I've just been trying to think of like teams that could be in the market. Like Memphis doesn't have anything they could give up that's probably enticing enough.
Memphis also has a star 4.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be in a weird spot there. There's not a ton of obvious teams that really make sense for Pascal. There's definitely not a ton of obvious options.
He's just a weird player. Like, I guess you could say like a team who just needs a guy who can go out and get a bucket. But like,
It's like who?
is Pascal the best guy for that? Like, he's a decent guy for that. But I don't know.
Cat for Pascal, like straight up. Why not? Like that's the best I can think of, bro. Like honestly, but why would the Raptors want Cat and Pirtle playing together at the same time? That would help with the space. You know, Cat's been shooting pathetic from 3, but on paper that helps with the spacing. But I don't know. We'll see, man. I think we'll have a lot more of a clearer vision once we get around like Christmas time.
Maybe Cleveland wants him, man. I don't know.
I was thinking that, but it's like, what would the Raptors?
I don't think they'd be getting a guard though. It'd be like
they don't got picks.
The Cavs sent over like Jared
Allen
and stuff like that, and it's like
decent center runs. I guess I don't know. It's weird. We'll see. There's a lot of NBA season left. We've seen crazier guys that we don't know what they would get traded for get moved. So
I don't think OG gets traded anymore this year. Like out of the two of them, just from watching the games, OG's been so well utilized.
Is he off the Mount Rushmore?
We know the media is still going to be pushing it.
I'm not actively asking for him to be traded, I'll say, because he just, like I said, he's one of the main guys on cuts. He's looked really good in transition. Obviously, him and Scottie, both of their hands on the defensive side of the ball, just the amount of rips they get, not even in half court, but in transition. The fact that they're able to get big transition stops has been huge. And like OG's spacing, I think, like he's just been so effective this season for everything that we know he's done for years. But he's a guy who fits a lot better in this new, more structured, free-flowing ball movement offense than Pascal. And so I'm happy to have him around as long as he's around, because he's obviously not hindering the development of Scottie, and he's still been able to be effective with the ball more in Scottie's hands and even with the ball in Dennis's hands a lot. So it's like, for him to be able to maintain that, like I said, a lot more plug and play as opposed to Pascal, I'm really not mad if he sticks around. Now, if you can get good value for him, go ahead and move on. But if he is there, it's like, it's not the same as when Fred and Pascal are still there taking up a lot of the touches. And it's like last year where it's like, okay, this is really hindering Scottie's development. How are we going to get the next crop going if these guys are doing all of these things? But with OG, he's still able to be himself while allowing the next crop of talent to grow and thrive.